What's up, guys? Garrett with self.dev. So today I'm going to talk about an epiphany I had yesterday, and that is if you want to achieve any endeavor in life, any major goal, or like build a business, you need to have laser-like focus on that one thing. Over the past year or two, I've been splitting my focus amongst multiple businesses I'm trying to create, and I thought if I just spent a little bit of time here a week, a little bit of time on this, a little time on this, a little time on this, every week, eventually thought they'd build up and they'd all be successful, right? But as much as I want that to work, because there's a lot I want to do in life, that's not the way it works, or that's at least not the best way or the most efficient at all. The most efficient way is to have periods of intense like grinding and hustling. Like when I was trying to learn how to code to become a web developer, I would spend almost every waking hour I could outside of work and eating and the gym studying code. And even when I was at work, I worked at a call center, so between calls I'd have like free code camp up, and if there was ever downtime, like I had a few minutes between calls, I'd be working on the little challenges on free code camp and Team Treehouse, building projects and stuff. And then outside of work, I was studying like 20-30 hours a week. It was intense focus on one goal, and after months of intense focus and studying and applying to jobs, eventually all that paid off. And then the same thing happened when I was studying for my Series 7 and 63, so I could become a broker and get that call center job that I hated in the first place, ironically. With that, it was a little bit easier because they were paying us to work and they paid us to study 8 hours a day. I would study 8 hours a day and then I'd come home and study more. And I was one of the people that passed the 7 and 63. It used to be a lot harder. I think they've divided up into smaller tests now, so it's easier to pass. But like even though we were studying 8 hours a day, there were still like maybe 25% of the class or 30% of the class still didn't pass the tests, and like they couldn't get the job because you need those to work in finance or like be a broker or do whatever I was doing. But basically I've realized that you need laser-like focus on whatever your goal is, because that allows two things. One, that allows you to take massive action. Like when I was the first job I got in tech, I distinctly remember the first phone call we had, and the guy that was going to interview me said he was impressed by how many projects I had built in such a short amount of time. And that's because I had gone through like Free Code Camp, built all the projects there. I'd gone through Team Treehouse, built all the projects there. I was working on the Odin projects, and I was building other stuff. I just had like this huge portfolio of projects because I was just trying to rapidly assimilate and consume knowledge and like learn this. And taking massive action is important in any endeavor to succeed. Like even if you're trying to build a business, if you're putting in like 1 hour a week and your competitors are putting in 40, 60 hours a week, they are going to destroy you. Or like Elon Musk says, if you work I forget the exact quote. It was like, if you work 100-hour weeks and your competitor's only working 40, you'll achieve the same amount of work in 4 months that it would take them a year to make. Those numbers aren't exact. It's something like that. I cannot remember the exact numbers, and I don't want to stop to think about it right now. But also even Elon Musk, like when Elon Musk created PayPal, like he was sleeping in his office. They didn't have with his, I don't know if it was his brother or whoever he was creating it with. It might not have been PayPal. This might have been his company before that. But I remember reading his biography by Ashley Vance, I believe. And he was talking about how they would sleep in their office. If he wanted to have a girl come over, she'd sleep on they have a couch in their office. Like he didn't have an apartment. They worked in the office and lived there to save money on rent. And it was just like intense focus on that one thing until it was successful and could maintain itself. Once you get something to a point where it can kind of somewhat maintain itself, then you can swap to another task. And I think that's what he did with SpaceX, right? Like he got SpaceX to a point where it could like this might not be 100% accurate, but he got it to a point where he could somewhat maintain it on his own. And then he got Tesla and like dedicated a large amount of focus to that, I'm imagining, and got that to where it can kind of maintain itself on its own. And then he could switch back and forth. And then he's got other businesses too that I imagine when he started it up, he had to put in a very large amount of focus on just that one thing until he got it to a maintenance level. And when you get it to a maintenance level, then you can switch to another task without that system completely falling apart. Another thing laser-like focus allows you to do is it affects your speed of execution, which is another very important thing. I mean, if you're studying code and you're just doing like an hour a week, if you're only doing an hour a week studying code and you're like, I'm gonna be a developer one day. No, you're not, dude. You have to study more than that a week. Otherwise the knowledge is not gonna accumulate in your brain rapidly enough, and you're not gonna make the neural connections you need to like get this stuff drilled down into your brain. You need to focus more than that. I don't know what the minimum amount of time you should be spending learning to code a week. There's probably like some study out there that's like, this is the appropriate amount of hours to study a week to learn a new skill. I don't know, probably honestly, probably the more the merrier. I mean, like the more you study, the better. Now, don't take this as a reason to like quit your job and solely focus on learning to code. If that's your goal right now, I would say don't quit your job, because that's it depends on stuff, right? Like if you've got family and you can just like live at their house while you're studying, and you're actually going to study and not just like quit your job and kind of like play video games most of the day and then study 2 or 3 hours a day. If you can actually sit down and study like 10 hours a day while you don't have a job and you're just living, like letting your family support you, then do that. But you also have to be putting in work on the weekends. You have to be like grinding hard, right? But I also think having, like I probably could have done that. I could have like quit my job, left Dallas, moved back home with my parents and studied like 10 hours a day. But honestly, I don't know. I can't honestly say that I wouldn't have played video games a lot too. I'm not sure. Because I was using my job as negative emotional leverage. I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but if you have a job you hate and that's why you're trying to learn how to code because you see this as an escape to get out of your crappy job and potentially make a lot of money in the future, then use the job as negative emotional leverage. If there's time, if you have like downtime at work where you can study and do stuff online and practice code or learn online at work, do that. And then I could also use that as like when I got home, I was tired. I just wanted to like sit down, lay in the bed and play Fortnite and eat some crappy food. But I thought if I do this, then I'm definitely going to have to go back to the job I hate tomorrow. Or I can study until it's time to go to bed. And that's going to get me one step closer to getting a job as a dev and getting out of this job that I hate. And then I'd also use that to like wake up at 5 a.m. Like I'd wake up and be like, all right, I can sleep a few more hours, but every extra hour I sleep is another extra hour I'm going to be at this job I don't like. And I would get up, go to the gym, come home, study until I went to work. So that's kind of another argument I have against just like quitting your job to study full time. But if you have a side hustle or like you're trying to become a developer or whatever your goal is, you need to try to have laser-like focus as much as you can outside of the other stuff in life you need to do. Like if you have a job, you got a 40-hour work week, you have to do that, you got to make money. But outside of that, you should spend as much time as you possibly can on that goal. And that is going to give you the highest probability of succeeding on that goal. I've actually got an accountability coach, and I've recently told him that, all right, I'm going to cut out some of this other stuff I'm trying to do, and I'm going to only focus on my HTML and CSS course. I'm going to have this done by the end of the year. I'm going to be making 25 modules for it per week. I don't know how long. I need to actually do the math and see how long it's going to take to build this. I'm doing it super modularized. So if I have one module where people are like, hey, this doesn't really make sense, I'm not getting it, I can record that one again and hopefully make it clearer and go deeper into that one concept. But this is a course that I've needed to and like wanted to try to build for the past 2 years. And just putting in a tiny bit of effort per week is not paying off or not getting me where I want. So I got an accountability coach because like I'm also kind of complacent right now. Like I'm in a very comfortable place in life, but I need to go. There's so much more I want to achieve in life than where I'm at. And maybe you're at a comfortable place too, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I want to become a dev. That'd be cool. And you're just like, that's a dream. Maybe I'll achieve it, maybe won't. I'll put in like an hour or two per week. And if you're only putting in an hour or two per week, you probably should just give up and not pursue that goal. I'm not trying to be like demotivational or anything like that, but like if you're only putting in an hour or two a week, you're not going to get a job as a dev one day. You need to put in more effort than that. If that's all you're putting in, your time would probably be better spent on some other goal or some other endeavor, because time is finite, right? Like we're all going to run out of time one day. You have to spend it wisely. But yeah, I think that might be about it for this one. So again, just if any goal you're trying to achieve, whether it's becoming a developer or getting a six-pack or building a business, anything you're trying to achieve, you need to have a laser-like focus on that initially. Eventually you can get that to a point where you're in maintenance mode. Like right now, being a developer is my full-time job, so I'll study like an hour or two outside of work per week. That combined with what I do 8 hours a day coding allows me to have that kind of in maintenance mode, and I don't have to spend a lot of time outside of work on that. But if you've got another full-time job right now, and you're only studying an hour or two outside of work, you're not going to get past the threshold you need to get to where the stuff starts to like drill down into your head and you start remembering it and get good at it. But enough of me rambling. So if you thought this was good content, give me a thumbs up so YouTube knows I'm doing good stuff. I know I'm doing stuff you guys like, and I will try to create more content like this. Hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the cool content I'm putting out. If you, I think, what is it, next weekend? I'm going to stream. No, yeah, next weekend. Not next weekend. The weekend after Halloween weekend in the U.S. I'm going to be streaming the monthly project. This month, it's a URL shortener, kind of like Bitly, but we're going to just use Bitly's API and build our own URL shortener. I don't know, maybe in React just for practice. If you want to be notified when I'm doing that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon, so YouTube will hopefully give you a notification when I'm doing that. Should be like Saturday morning on the 29th in US time or Central Standard Time. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave those down in the comments below. If you want to come join our Discord channel or the Self-Taught Dev subreddit, look in the description. I'll have ways you can join both of those. You can talk with me and the other devs in there, ask questions, get advice, get feedback on stuff. And I think that's about it. So I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Round 1.